Guys, welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. Today we have Matteo Bilbao. He is co-founder at SendMage. Got to talk about email deliverability, sales, everything in between. Matteo, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and tell us a bit more about SendMage?
Yeah, sure. And hi, Charles. Thank you for having me. So we started SendMage about 3 months ago, because the story goes like this. We started working different multiple startups with my co-founders, I think 4 years ago. And as you might know, in a startup, you wear multiple hats. And one of those big hats we wore was sales. We did lots of outbound sales. And in particular, our last role at our company was mostly focused on sales operations. So not only we did sales for our own company, but we also did sales ops for our customers. So naturally, we tried multiple processes, multiple strategies, lots of trial and error with email campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns, meetings, call, etc. And we noticed that, technology is advancing super quick, yet we're struggling to get our emails delivered in the inbox folder. And we thought that was kind of dumb, because we were doing this huge effort in researching prospects, creating a good and nice solid pipeline, all of that to see it wasted just because we sometimes just landed in spam. So that's why we created SendMage with our co-founders, with the idea of helping salespeople with technology generate more meetings. So specifically, we're now focused on solving the problem of having sales emails landing in spam. Yep.
You and I discussed about my deliverability problem last call. We somewhat made some conclusions. I'm learning every day when it comes to deliverability. It's kind of fascinating because it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack, but the needle's more like a sword. It's not that complicated, but it's fun, it's because it's a persistent problem, and I love persistent problems. So what did we talk about as per the insights of why my email got to spam? We said first that beginning this year, like a bunch of big tools, they started cracking on spam emails as per se. We also concluded that I sent too high volumes without warming up. We also concluded that some industries were flagging emails more than others. For example, the tech industry is like, very low open rate that we have. I also got reminded today that every time we buy a new domain name and we start sending too quick on that domain name, it also has very low open rates. And yesterday I also realized that some of my campaigns we did not send to verified emails, because I have so many campaigns running that sometimes I forget checking the box in Apollo, which in total contributes to an open rate that is kind of alien to me, because my open rate last year was around 50 or 60%, which is somewhat normal, and this year it's more like 20 to 30%. So we're seeing a 2x less shift. But obviously I've been doing lots of things different that year. So with all that information, what do you think could be my possible problem?
Right. Well, as you might know, and as we discussed the other day, this issue, the most important thing to have in mind is before deciding whether you go into spam or not, spam filters look into multiple variables, lots of variables. So once you do end into spam, it's hard to pinpoint exactly which one of those variables was the main culprit, let's say. So what we do as outbound consultants, or when we are reviewing a process, we try to go through a checklist of all the good practices, and like we did with you the other day. So making sure everything is on place, and finding the slightest inconsistency with what we consider to be the good practices. So we can briefly talk about some of the points you mentioned. As you might know, and maybe people from your audience might know, one of the first steps that is always recommended is to have multiple domains, multiple sending domains. So it's not a really good idea to send emails from your main domain. In your case, you're doing this correctly. As far as I know, you have multiple domains. So the main benefit here is, well, first to protect your main domain in case anything goes wrong. But on the other hand, it allows you for a good distribution of the email load per day, right? Because one of the main things that kills your deliverability is, as you might know, high volume of mails in a single domain per day. It is typically recommended to send no more than 20 or 30 emails tops per inbox per day. When we did your check, you were well below under those limits, except I believe for a couple of sequences. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this account here, because I have multiple, you can see it's
Yep.
somewhat starting to be healthy, because I've been working with a deliverability guy. Yes, multiple domains here, 75 per day, 50, which is very low in my case. But yeah, you get the idea. And by the way, I have more accounts that I usually buy, they're just deactivated right now. But yes, multiple domains here, and yep, I'm starting to see signs of healthiness. But yeah, I think my main block was just, it's almost denial. It's like, yeah, I still want to send the same volumes that I did before. I want to stick to the past when open rates were 60% and I didn't do anything.
Yep.
And I think
It
it
just
was kind
happened.
of denialism. I'm somewhat good at that, unfortunately, as the visionary slash a chief delusion officer, which is like always like forward moving, always positive. So it's like, yeah, I think that
Right.
hurt me a lot. But you can see that one here, for example, I started yesterday, 38% starts to be normal-ish.
Right. Of course, open rate depends on the industry and the company size. For anyone
That's
that might not know,
manufacturing, by the way. This
manufacturing.
one, yeah, manufacturing always had high open rates, but very low reply rates.
Got it.
I don't know why these people, they don't reply much. Maybe they don't know how to send emails, or maybe they're like so busy. But yeah.
Yeah, or maybe the decision-making process is different from a fast-paced startup, maybe
Right.
it's harder to pinpoint the right person or whatever.
Right.
But are these smaller or medium businesses, or are you also including enterprise level companies?
Yeah, always go up smaller, but I'm gonna go to a section which might be more interesting to us. So you can see
Okay.
open rates here. Deep tech very low. I don't know why exactly. But basically, what I found out is that some top industries company size, weirdly enough, as you can see here, 10,000 plus has high open rates, right? Which is weird. I'd expect like Amazon to have very advanced spam filters. Then the second most open emails, that's the current week, but I can tell you that it's accurate, 100 to 200. And weirdly enough, but I'll explain why it's so low. The 1 to 10 is like, I think it's the volume, right? The correlation is not really the size of the business, but it's more the volume.
Volume. That
Because
seems to be the case.
my hypothesis is that, for example, the 1 to 10 employees, folks, they all use the same spam filters or the same tools. If I'd have to take a guess, Google. Who's been cracking down on spam? Google, right? What's really been happening? Like, is it true that Google starts cracking on spam because they have their own email marketing tool or whatever? Like, what happened at the beginning of this year when it came to Google?
It's hard to know the exact reason because, of course, most of the information we have, it's not from the direct source from Google. But what did happen, and this is publicly available information, is that last year, at the end of the year, I think it was around November, Google banned the email warmers that use their API. So basically, when you're talking about email warmers, there's two ways these products can work. One, some of them were built through Google's API, meaning connecting directly to their services. And on the other hand, you have other types of email warmers which didn't use Google API. and they have a more like it's a longer onboarding process, but they work the same way. So what Google did was just banning. They said, okay, you cannot connect to an email warmer anymore. The API for this kind of products is banned. You cannot create this. And since most leaders in the market were using this API, this forced them to either shut down or refactor their product, which brought lots of issues and lots of this is when open rates started to crack down, because they started to actively close down and act upon these warmers, so their effectiveness went down considerably. So
Right.
pretty much, in other words, Google put their eyes into email warmers are starting to counter their effects, basically. At least those that use their API. Yep.
You can see here also, I mean, we might check the data on, you know, what title, but again, like me, the correlation I'm seeing is my volume. It's always the highest volume that gets the lowest open, right?
So my question to you
that's
is,
my lesson.
it should be, and it could be. I mean, there's one variable we need to clarify, which is how many different domains and inboxes do you have to distribute that volume among?
Well, in that case, it's not enough, I would say. Normally, I have more, but two things here. First, you know, like I've been, let's say 2 months ago, I've really been going quite hard on my email sending. And yes, I got into spam more, but my meetings, because right now I'm slowing down due to my delivery doctor prescription, now I'm getting 2x less meetings doing that. It's weird, right? So my emails were that good that even when I was getting in the spam, people would still give me a meeting, you know, which is weird.
That was cool.
But yeah, it's like the second thing is that Charles doesn't want to slow down, you know. Charles is always about, oh, let's do better. Which is the tough thing here. So I don't necessarily want to slow down, but I think, yeah, I should use more mailboxes, right? And try to spread it across. But if it's the same Mailgun or SendGrid account, wouldn't that be the same?
I mean, the SendGrid part is a separate discussion that we can address now. But first, let me close the idea. It seems to me that your main bottleneck right now is number of domains, because the rule of sending 20 to 30 emails per day per inbox shouldn't be overlooked in my experience so far. So once you do the math, you probably have a number of emails you want to send per week, right? Or you probably have a target based on your meeting rates or conversion rate, let's call it. So in that case, I would do the math and work out how many domains and inboxes you need and go ahead and just buy them. It shouldn't be expensive for you. Now, going into SendGrid, this is a controversial topic. I know that SendGrid is one of the providers or tools that are recommended by Apollo themselves to improve your deliverability. But there's a problem here. From our experience as doing outbound, each time we had a customer connect into SendGrid, their deliverability suffered sooner or later. And this is because SendGrid is not built specifically for cold emails. This is an email marketing tool. So what I suggest you guys do, in your case, Charles, go into SendGrid's terms and conditions and check for yourself that this is not a tool for cold emails. What we actually recommend is using a specific sales engagement tool that is built for this purpose. And the reason why it's not a good idea is because the SMTP server, which is one of the email sending servers, this is one of the variables spam filters checks, right? When you send a high volume of emails, even if you're sending it through SendGrid, if you're sending a high volume of emails to cold prospects, this is something that Gmail picks up, and you will increase your likelihood of landing into spam. Right. All of this is to say that, I mean, I know lots of people are using SendGrid for cold emails. We discourage this activity, and you can guys check it for yourselves. Just entering into SendGrid's terms and conditions, and you'll see that there's a section that talks about opt-in, which means that all emails that go through SendGrid need to be sent to people that gave their consent, right?
Sure. Yeah, gonna push back on that because
Sure.
Back in days, my open rates were like 60%. Now they're getting normal. They're getting back on track again to this. So it works way more than other non-scalable tool. I always go with scale and quantity. For the terms and conditions, yes. That I agree. Still, they do have a partnership with Apollo, right? So they know obviously what Apollo is doing.
Yep.
They have a bunch of customers as well. Apollo brings them a bunch of customers. I think the deal is Apollo checks what their customers are sending. If it's total shit, they will not accept. SendGrid will not accept the customers, nor will Apollo, by the way, because if one player, if one bad actor like screws the whole Apollo ecosystem, well, yeah, that's not profitable for anyone. So they constantly boot out these toxic players. The second thing is that there's always alternatives, right? That's where they have a partnership with Mailgun too. So, and Mailgun is also opt-in. So it's tolerated, right? And that's the opportunity behind cold email, is that it's a gray zone. Yes, on paper it's illegal, but no one knows how to crack down on it. And second, it's tolerated in the B2B field. B2C is like a big no-no. So that's the caveat. That's why people accept it, and that's the opportunity behind cold emails, that most people think it's illegal, but in practice it's tolerated.
Right.
So
may I add
that's
something
why.
there, Charles?
Yeah.
By no means I'm saying that we shouldn't send cold emails. Cold emails are awesome. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Just wanted to point it out that using SendGrid specifically for cold emails is, at least from our side, not advised and not in compliance with their terms and conditions. But outside that, yes, I mean we should totally do cold emails and do them as much as possible.
Because that means they could crack down on you anytime, right? Like they could say, oh, nope, we are not gonna support that anymore, which is why I have backups over backups over backups. But yeah, indeed, it's somewhat tricky, right? It's somewhat ambiguous. If I have to make a prediction, I'll do Apollo's kind of slowish to develop features somehow. I think they would develop their own SMTP app, their own SendGrids eventually. I think they should go towards that direction. And I'm still surprised I'm very much surprised by their partnership with SendGrid and Mailgun. But at the other side, am I surprised? Because this could lead to a lot of shit? Well, no, because money, right? Let's say that the Apollo and SendGrid partnership, I'm estimating that, that brings at least $1 million actually, let's say 10 million ARR per year to SendGrid. Who would say no to 10 million ARR that you can reinvest in your business, right? So yeah. And that's another division in the company. Let's note that there's like a partnership department entirely, and these folks are like, they might butt head with the compliance folks, but they always win the convo. Why? Because they have dollar signs to prove, right?
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah.
That's
the
the
incentives
dynamics
are
at
pretty
play
clear.
here.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. They have a strong incentive there. But for people doing cold emails, our suggestion, in case they are open to experimenting, is have like half of your domains on SendGrid, and the other half just use your regular the SMTP server from Gmail, Outlook, or whatever, and just compare the results. From my experience, that this can be a game changer in some cases if you're suffering from current deliverability issues, right? So just go ahead and experiment. Try it without this tool and see how it goes after 2 or 3 weeks.
There's two things here. Google's are really assholes. They already like fucked up a couple of my Google Workspace account, and I wasn't even scaling. That's one. So I think they're way more willing to crack down on folks than SendGrid because of what we just discussed. And yeah, well, it's like twofold. One, it just doesn't work technically. They have like a 400 sending per day per mailbox, I think. And second, they were more willing to crack down on you. And third, it's like more time with Apollo, that is. But everything that you're mentioning, I'm like the black duck in the industry for that. You know, like everyone is doing that. But me, I still haven't found the clear rational argument for it, because at the system, it allows scale. Obviously I've taken a hit from like overdoing it. That was the main reason. And actually another reason of the somewhat downfall in my open rate, I attribute it to these two Google Workspace account that I set up. I'm not sure how valid that theory is, but I used Charles at charlescormier.com and Charles at coldrev.com, both Google Workspace account. And I use that because I really love the Apollo integration with Google Workspace, that you could check a lead straight up in your inbox. That was pretty cool. But I think Google started acting up on me. I think I reached a limit from Google. Google banned me. They literally froze one of my main mailbox because I broke the conditions, and I never exceeded 400, by the way, which was their TOS. And yeah, that I think contributed to one of my open rate downfall. What do you think? Like it should, maybe like the 400 was way too much. Maybe it should be less if I use a Google account. What do you think?
Yes. I mean, it feels like a bit too much. Was it like 400 per day per inbox?
Yeah, 400-ish.
Yes. Yes. As I told you, there's always multiple variables coming into play here. If we're just talking about the volume variable in isolation, it looks like a bit too much, but I will also look into how similar your emails were from each other, meaning how
They're all
personalized
different.
could you get them?
Yeah, they're all very
Okay,
different. Generally
gotcha.
speaking, that is.
I mean, not just you were not just personalizing for first name and company name, but also mixing up the copies, right? Or
I wasn't
how did
mixing
that
up the
look?
copy. I'm currently like planning on OpenAI slash ChatGPT, like hyper personalized emails. But there were more than just first name and company. There was vertical industry tag, now day, now month, and some
Gotcha.
other tags like that, which Google could possibly detect, obviously.
Right. Well, in that case, I mean, it looks like it might have been a volume issue, and
Yeah.
the reason behind is one of the things that spam filters commonly look for is volume, but how this volume like stays through time. Like maybe one day you can send 400 emails, but if you do that like 5 days in a row, that's probably gonna like bring up some alarms and probably trigger some more aggressive analysis of your emails.
Right.
So that might have been the case. That's why probably lots of people advocate for low volumes, just like a safe zone, and spreading your risk throughout multiple domains, multiple inboxes, because if one of them has a problem, it's just one domain. You're not losing your whole email sending power, let's say, right? I would say that, let's say you want to send 400 domains, 400 emails per day. In that case, why not have, like, I know it's more expensive, but if you had like 20 domains with one inbox each or two inboxes each, sending 20 emails per day, I think that you would hit the same number, the same volume. But if one of these domains suffers, you wouldn't have to halt your whole process. You would just lose 5 or 10% of your capacity while you fix these domains. That's one of the other advantages of spreading out your risk, not just avoiding spam, but in case something goes wrong, you don't have to stop.
Right. Well, Matteo, thank you so much for your advice here. Where can people find out more about you and SendMage?
Yeah, sure. It's just sendmage.com. That's our website, so you guys can go there and yeah, you can have a look at our tools.
All right.